Hi friends, thanks for coming back and hanging out with me. Let's do a simple sunflower painting that someone requested. It's going to be a lot like the easy cat portrait I did a couple weeks ago. So let's have some fun and play. Here's the simple pet portrait I was talking about. I had a profile photo of my favorite daughter's cat, Maya, and I just made a traceable out of it. The traceable's on my website if you want to paint this actual painting. But you can take a photo of your own pet, make a traceable out of it, and have fun with it. Check out that video if you like, but this is what I'm talking about. And so a friend of mine saw this and she wanted a sunflower like this because she bought a t-shirt with this outline on it. And I think she wants a sunflower t-shirt, so I'm gonna paint that. So I've drawn a sunflower. Here's the traceable. You can find that on my website. Oh, and while I'm thinking of it, you can use this however you want with any medium you want. It could be a coloring page. You could make cards out of it, t-shirts out of it, whatever you want. You just can't sell it because it's my copyrighted art. And if you want to do a paint party, just contact me for some permission. So I think we're going to do it very similar to this, but I'm going to use maybe a little bit of cad orange. So put that, this is a palette I already had going. That white is probably a couple weeks old, but it's still good. We're gonna probably use a lot of yellow, so cad yellow medium. And then just use what you can afford, use whatever paints you like, you can afford. During the pandemic, I can't always find the heavy bodies that I like. I believe in the Liquitex, the heavy body is more heavily pigmented than the basics, but boy, it's kind of hard to tell a difference. I also like the heavy body because I can thin them out, or I've already got them thicker if I want thicker paint. But you use what works for you, what you have. Don't feel like you've got to run out and buy a bunch of supplies. And then I've got a new filbert here that I thought would be fun to play with, and the size is worn off of it. But it's about as wide as my thumb. It's a Royal Lang nickel. And you know what I might do? It's the middle of winter. Oh, and this is a canvas board from Michael's. I think it's just cardboard in there. I don't know what's in there. It's been gessoed once. I'm gonna put, you could gesso it again, and actually it's kind of dirty, but I'm gonna paint over it. You could gesso it again, depending on how absorbent you want it, how much tooth you want on there. You know, I'm not too particular, but I do think I'm going to mist it with just a little bit of water. Oh, I gotta grab my water jar. I'll be right back. Okay, got my water jar. I'm just dipping my brush in it too to get just a little bit of moisture in it so it won't suck up quite so much paint. And then, I don't know that we need to do this, but, well, maybe because the yellow is quite a transparent color, so I'm gonna paint a little. Well, that white's not covering very well. I wonder if it's because it's old and I've kept it going by mixing a little bit of water in it. I'm just gonna put a little white paint down just to cover up the scuffs on my canvas. All right, I think I'll dry that and be right back. So I just dried it, the white with a hair dryer, and really I shouldn't have mixed it with water first because then I changed my mind and decided to cover the scuffs with some white. But it's kind of like you made a left turn instead of a right turn. Just go around the block and everything's fixable, doable. Don't sweat it. I make mistakes all the time. And then when I'm thinking, I don't know if I mentioned, I know I mentioned this is a canvas from Michael's, but it's 8-inch. Oh, I just got some paint on there. 8 inches by 8 inches. The traceable I have is 8 inches by 8 inches, but you can scale it up or down to whatever size you like. But I'm also doing this because I'm thinking the center, actually I think I want, I'm changing my mind again. I think I want the, maybe more orange in the middle. And you can't get this wrong, just however you want to paint it. And it may need more than one coat. I can already see the canvas kind of coming through. Just grabbed a little white, a little yellow. You know what, I'm gonna move, I've got my cat painting right there. I'm gonna move it so I don't splatter some paint on it. So I think what I'm gonna do is get a layer down here and then come back. It's drying super fast, but it's only like 2 degrees here. So the house is really dry. In the summer, it dries slower because it's humid where I live. So you just have to go with whatever's going on in your studio, which is why I missed it at first. I probably should have missed it again. So my cat, that cat video, the blue painting I showed you just a bit ago, did quite well on YouTube for me. I have 500 and some subscribers now. So I'm thinking you'll like this one too, because even if you're a super experienced painter, artist, it's still fun just to play, you know, do a quicker painting. So you'll have to let me know if you like this one. I think it can be a fun one for beginner painting. It can be a good way to practice. Just using a brush, getting used to how it feels. Some brushes are stiffer than others, some are longer, shorter. Kind of just see what you like. Okay, I'm gonna dry this just so I have a place to hang on to. I thought of something. So I just dip my brush a little bit in the water so I'm drying it with a hair dryer. It doesn't dry out. I don't know if you really need to do that. It just kind of depends on how dry the paint is on your brush. But before I did that, I just cleaned it off on the edges, just to paint the edges of the canvas panel. Little tip. All right, so let's work. Oh, and I definitely think I'm gonna want more than one coat. Can you see how I didn't really get the canvas covered? Oh, and I didn't dry it completely. I'm getting orange on my hands. Another tip, have an old rag nearby. Wear an apron. I have an apron on. A lot of times I wear t-shirts. You'll see me in t-shirts and hoodies in my videos. Okay. So I'm wondering, that's a fairly dry spot. I'm not getting it on my hand. Well, I think it's fun just to paint out, or yeah, paint right out of the tube. You don't have to worry about mixing. So post or put in the comments, drop in the comments. I think that's what the cool YouTubers say, drop in the comments. How long you've been painting? Are you new to painting? Did you used to watercolor paint? Oh, I have watercolor traceable to my website. I have a booklet. I need to get another booklet put together for watercolors. Do you like to craft? So I think painting something like this is super relaxing. And I'm gonna paint black outline over this. Where the cat I showed you had white, I'm gonna paint black. Just because it reminds me of a sunflower. And there's really no rhyme or reason other than I've got the darker orange in the middle, and it's okay if that doesn't line up. Oops, and it's okay if your brush is dirty. Just keep playing. Oh, yeah, that's kind of pretty. Boy, it is drying out fast. So I'm just dipping my brush in a little bit of water, grabbing a little paint. So I complain about how fast the paints dry on the canvas in the winter, but I really like it when you're trying to dry it with a hair dryer because it goes much faster. You know, so I suppose never happy, huh? I mean, it's good sometimes, and sometimes you're kind of fighting it. And hopefully I didn't just bump my video arm there, because I felt I got close to it. I think I need to try off my video and put out some more, whoops, I didn't want that color, some more yellow. While I'm thinking of it, because I just got some paint, this is I have it taped down a little bit. Oh, I guess I can kind of show you. This is just a loose piece of canvas that I've taped to my art table to protect it. And if you don't mind getting paint on your art table or whatever surface you're working on, you don't need to worry about it. But since I just got a little bit of paint on there that I just wiped up, thought I'd mention that. What else? Oh, and don't worry about which way is up while you're painting this, because right now I'm thinking that might be up, but then that's sort of upside down on the back. Don't worry about it. Oh, and there was another thing that I thought of while I was drying it. This is an 8x8. You could paint it if you want and trace the sunflower on it and then write love or love you or hello sunshine. Oh, I forgot to put out more yellow paint. Put it in an 8x8 frame and you make a really cute, simple gift. Just keep in mind that sometimes these aren't square, so take it to the store with you if you can, or get a frame that you can return, because make sure it'll fit in there. And then take the glass out. You don't want the glass in there, because acrylic will stick to like a plastic bag permanently over time, or it'll stick to the glass permanently over time. It starts to adhere to it. So you frame it without glass. Put a little UV varnish on it. Can make it as shiny, as glossy varnish as you want, or as you could put matte varnish on it. Really be a really fun gift. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to see me paint all of this. I don't really know where this is going, other than I think that looks pretty and almost watercolory, because I'm pretty much painting wet on wet, even though I dry in between. The brush strokes I put on are wet on wet. And then I'm just looking for a little bit of contrast, so I add some white or I add some darker. Well, maybe that will be the top. Keep changing my mind, which I like better. And I think I said don't worry about whether your circle fits or not. It's just sort of fits the actual inside of the traceable. It's just a suggestion. I'm assuming it'll look kind of good and arty and planned when we're done. Well, now I'm wondering if I'm going to have this way be up. I don't know that it matters. I'm running out of places. Maybe I'll set it down. Oh, I kind of like that. Yeah, now I'm changing my mind. It got to be darker than I wanted. There just really isn't any rhyme and reason. I just kind of go, I say to myself in my head, you know, stop, it's good. Or I'm tired of playing, you know. One thing I keep doing is I keep sort of finishing. For some reason I like it when you don't see my brush strokes into the circle I have going in the middle here. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do now is let this dry overnight. You could dry it really well with a hair dryer, and then if you want to use the traceable, transfer it onto there. Sorry, now I'm thinking about whether I like what I got going on here. Kind of like having the lighter in there too. I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and work on some other stuff, and it'll be good and dry by tomorrow, and I'll be back. Hey friends, it's the next day. Look how pretty that turned out. It looks like a watercolor. Oh, well, I'll move it closer, but I don't have to lift it that high to fit in the frame. You don't have to let it dry overnight. You can just dry it really well with a hair dryer, depending on the weather in your area. Maybe go have a cup of coffee. I like it to dry overnight. Just because sometimes, so I've scribbled here, let's go here first. I scribbled on the back with I have a little teeny piece of charcoal. You can buy it like this. Usually I buy Generals. I got this off of Amazon. I'm assuming it's just as good. It's just charcoal sticks. They're the best for not much dust, and then it still dissolves into the paint. And it doesn't, if this is kind of wet or just surface dry, sometimes whatever you use to transfer your image onto here sort of gets stuck in the paint. If you don't have charcoal, use graphite. Just use a graphite pencil, like a number 2 pencil. And then just try and lighten it up maybe with an eraser a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna transfer this onto here. I decided to show you that I just taped it on with a piece of masking tape, and I stuck that to my sweatshirt to get it fuzzy, just so it's not quite so sticky. And then I use a ballpoint pen to trace. And then sometimes the canvas panels aren't quite, this one is a little smaller than 8x8. Sometimes they're not quite square. That just happens. That's just more of an FYI. And then I just kind of go, you don't have to press that hard, but for some reason I go back and forth. And I don't know if you need to go back and forth. And then I'm not gonna have you watch every petal. That might be kind of mind numbing. But before you take it off, or before you're done, before you take it off, just lift it to make sure it's transferring. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, one thing that came up for me is I didn't follow my zigzags at all. I just zigzagged. So here, maybe if I pick it up, you can see I actually made these taller here. So I mean, it's up to you. If you want to follow each zig and zag, you go for it. If you don't worry about it. It looks like it transferred really well. Okay, the next step I like to do, I don't know that you need to because I'm going to paint with black paint. I like to use a kneaded eraser, and sometimes they're kind of dry if you haven't used them in a while and you need to knead them. Make them a little softer. They're about $1. There's different brands. I like to lighten up my lines, even though they'll wash away. It's just like silly putty. Of course, it's not lightening that much. Oh, and my table's wiggling. Oh, there it goes. Maybe we'll rub it a little bit. So I'm gonna do that. You know what, guys? I think I forgot to write the word love on the canvas. Ever since I've started videoing, I think I've forgotten a couple times. Sorry, I'm adjusting my video arm there. I think I've forgotten to write the word love a couple times, and I really like doing that. I think it's a great way to start. I'll have to go back and look at the video and see if I actually forgot. And then I'm just using a small round Simply Simmons brush. Just use any small brush you have. And I'm gonna start over here because I'm right-handed. And normally I have my paints, like when I paint on my easel, my paints are on my right. but just because the way my art table is and how I have my video arm set up, I have my paints over there. So you guys, well, so you guys can see my palette. And I'm just gonna, oh, there's a piece of fuzz. I'm gonna paint lines. So this is just a fun, relaxing, you can practice painting a background and blending wet on wet. And then you can practice, oh, I see the fuzz. Here, let's see if it's, I can't tell if it's on the brush or on the, oh, it's on the painting. Can't tell if I got it. If you make a mistake, paint some white over the black, it's a really strong color, and then you can paint some of the oranges back over it. So don't worry if you make a mistake. Or if you get a piece of fuzz like I just did. So I'm adding just a little bit of water to my black paint. I probably put out way too much black paint because it isn't flowing quite like I want. Yeah, that's a little better. So this one is actually harder, or maybe just will take longer than this one. And then this one you could have done any color background on. So I probably won't show painting the whole thing because it's leaf after leaf after leaf. It's still not flowing quite like I like. So people ask me, you know, how much water can I add to my paint? Short answer is I don't really know, but you'll see it get too thin. And you can almost like see the little bits of pigment in it. I mean, that's too thin. The nice thing about acrylics, and I don't know if I don't know if this is true or not, but like, so I've got quite a bit of paint here. And then even if I have some thin layers on top of it, I always put a gel gloss isolation layer. I've used both Liquitex and Golden, just depending on what gel gloss I can find. And it tells you on the back how much you can thin it. Tells you somewhere. Oh, I think it tells right here. But I've also written it on the top, you know, isolation coat, 1 part water, 2 parts gloss. And I put essentially clear acrylic over the top of it, and I kind of sandwich it. So if there's any thin layers, they'll just adhere. They'll just kind of stick down together. So maybe this makes more sense. If you've ever put an acrylic painting and then put glass on top of it, it'll fuse to that glass. Or it'll stick to like a slick surface. So I think if you get some thin layers, just put a clear layer on top of it and it'll all fuse together. And if you're painting on paper, it doesn't matter how thin, because it'll absorb right into the paper. You can tell I'm concentrating. Okay, I'm gonna make some progress and I'll be back. Okay, thought of a tip. So besides maybe thinning your paint out a little bit with some water, you could thin it out with a little matte medium, gloss medium, whatever you have. So, here, I don't know if you can see this on the black. So I've got too much paint in my brush, but if you roll it, you can get a better point sometimes on the brush. And then pressure. So if you start out light, of course I've got it so wet now it's really flowing, and then if you push down it gets a little fatter. And then I could see it was starting to dry out, so I just didn't even connect it. I just let it skip. Don't worry. Oh, and then you choke up, like for me, you might not like this, but for me, if I'm painting little or detail lines like this, I choke up. Whereas if you're painting at an easel, you might hold it back at the end of the brush. You have a longer handle brush. And then if you've thinned out your paint too much, kind of like I did where I was getting fatter lines I wanted, just try not to worry about it. And that's what makes it look hand done. I like the word arty. Well then, if you notice, my orange sort of center comes down a lot further below my squiggle lines than and it doesn't come up nearly as high. It's not centered. But I think it just makes it look fun. You know, I had no idea if I was, well, I knew I wasn't because I didn't figure out where the center of the sunflower actually was when I painted the background. So I knew it'd be off. Okay, I'll come back in a bit, guys. Hey, so I just stopped and dried this with a hairdryer because as I'm turning it and painting it, I'm gonna start getting my hand over the black wet areas. I don't wanna get it on my hand or my sweatshirt. And then I realized, oh, well, of course that's why I lighten up the charcoal lines, because it keeps me from getting charcoal on my hand. If you're a drawer and you draw in graphite, a lot of times you have a protective piece of paper over the top. But sometimes when you're painting, you can't do that because the paint's wet. Just wanted to pop in and say, hey, at any time you feel comfortable, dry it with a hairdryer. It's like saving it on a computer or saving the file so you don't lose it. If a line is too big and uncomfortable for you, just pulling is easier than pushing. So just break it up into parts and then turn it. I've dried this with a hairdryer again, so it should be. And then if you want, you could leave like a little break even. You don't have to close it. And see, that doesn't even want to really work for me, so I'm gonna make that line shorter. I'm just like, sometimes you just need more paint. I grabbed just a smidge of water, which I may or may not have needed. There, that's better. So just do it in however long is comfortable for you. And then here, I'll show you why I'm thinking of it. Some of my lines are pretty wiggly. That one got kind of wiggly. I don't know if I was on camera, sorry. That one got fat and wiggly. Don't worry about it too much. The whole point's just to have some fun. Now see, that one I was much more comfortable. And you can also pull your shoulder, instead of like there I did my wrist, but you could pull your shoulder if you wanted to do a really long line. Okay, I'm gonna start the zigzags. Well, and this is kind of bugging me. I don't know. So here on the traceable, my stem's a little bit to the right. And I don't know if it's just the angle I'm painting at, but I feel like it's, yeah, see, it's even more to the right. So I might push some of my zigzags out. Here it doesn't bother me. It's like the flowers turn just a little bit. Oh, I just wanted to point out in case it bothers you guys, you can fix it. Adjust it when you trace it on. I'm not sure how I want to do the zigzags. Oh yeah, I might be able to actually zigzag. Got a blob of paint on my brush so I can see. So here I am actually pushing and pulling, which I said pushing is harder, but when they're little strokes, sometimes it's not any harder. If you tried to push a long one, that would be difficult. And don't worry, I mean, it's up to you how close you want to get to the zigzags that you draw. Oop, that was a fat one. Okay, I dried the zigzags so that I can start the inner. I just dried it, surface dried it with a hair dryer. So I can start the inner zigzags, and I kind of want to, I'm a little nervous. I kind of want to, it already is pretty centered. Kind of want to shift it over. Maybe more like that. I think we just better go for it. I need to turn it. And this is where it's nice that the charcoal, let it set. I mean, you can dry it really well with a hair dryer and probably wash it off. You'll know if you start to pick up some paint to stop and wait. But this is where it's nice, where if I don't go over my lines, I can just wash it off. Hey, so I tried this again with a hair dryer. I changed laundry loads, did a little laundry. I think it's been about a half an hour. And I got some fresh water. Let's see, am I in frame here? So let's see, I have a clean brush. Let's just see if the charcoal will wash off. You know what, I might want a different brush. And a paper towel, maybe. I'm looking for, sorry guys, I'm looking for a brush that's maybe a little stiffer. Well, actually, I don't know that that's gonna be stiffer. I could get a small short brush, but then it, well, that sneaker doesn't want to come off. I wonder if that's kind of coming off, but so's the paint. I wonder if I need to wait a little bit. Hey, it's the next day, and I tried, I'm just using this old little brush because I don't care if I scrub with it. So I tried dipping it in water and then washing right here, and it's taken off some of the paint. So I let it dry for a little bit, and then I've tried this eraser, and that's working to get the charcoal off. Sometimes, I don't know, I wonder if this was a little wet and the charcoal stuck to it, or not wet, but it can take up to a week for acrylic paint to cure. But look at how hard I can scrub that, and it's lightening the lines. If you just can't get it off, you can go back with a little bit of your paint, because I saved the palette. So I still have the paint here. I just store it on styrofoam plates in a Ziploc bag. I've got a video about saving your palettes. You can touch it up. That's interesting. I think maybe chalk might have worked better. I've never had trouble with charcoal before, but then maybe I, you know, let the background dry a little bit longer, let the background dry another day. Anyway, let me know what you think. Little tip there, maybe don't use the charcoal, use the chalk, school chalk, chalk pastel, Saral paper, which I don't have in my studio, but it's S-A-R-A-L paper. It's, I hear it's really nice transfer paper for art. What else could you use? Probably watercolor pencil. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. If you give it a try, I'd love to see how yours turns out. Great big art hugs. I hope to chat with you soon. Bye, guys.